Mary Beth Gauthier. We're being recorded now. My name is Mary Beth Gauthier. I work in the principal's office and I'm a member of the Queen's United Way Committee. I want to welcome everyone here today and begin by stating that even though we are meeting today from many different locations through technology, Queen's University is situated on the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe. We are grateful to be able to live, learn, work, and play on these lands. Today, you will hear from some United Way agency partners about how your donations through our campaign are helping them address some of the very critical needs in our communities right now, specifically in how they're helping young people in some of the very real challenges they're facing. This is the first in a series of 4 Lunch and Learn speaker events we will hold during the campaign. Next week, at the same time, we will be hearing from agencies involved in mental health issues. The week after that, our focus will be on food security, and on October 28th, we will be discussing women's issues and their resilience. These events help everyone learn about the work being done in our community and the needs that exist and are being felt even more acutely right now during the pandemic. And it's one way that we're helping to raise awareness of the United Way and the Queen's United Way campaign. Our Queen's community is very generous, and we are a leader within our community. With this year, we have a goal of $300,179, and that represents just over 10% of the entire community campaign goal of $2.9 million. We are the largest workplace and retiree campaign in Eastern Ontario, and I want to sincerely thank everyone who has donated and supported the United Way through the campaign so far this year and who has done so in the past as well. I will be sharing links to the upcoming Lunch and Learn sessions throughout our chat today, and you'll see those in the chat window at the bottom of the screen. So please add them to your calendars, share them with your colleagues and friends, and I will also share a link to our donation page if you haven't yet made your pledge to the campaign this year and wish to do so. So just look for those to be popping up. Now, I'd like to introduce our discussion moderator today, Bhavana Varma, who is the CEO and President of the United Way of Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington, who will share some information about our topic and, of course, introduce our panelists today. Bhavana.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone at Queen's for your very generous support. As Mary Beth said, you are a leading campaign, and we really do appreciate all the donations. Collectively, these donations add up, and they've been a great foundation for the kind of work we've had to do in a crisis. Last year, we had no idea that we would be in this situation, but what we're grateful for is all those donations that have helped us respond to COVID and the pandemic in a really very rewarding way. I cannot say enough about the work our agencies do every single day. Just during the pandemic, we've helped 42,000 people and funded 87 programs. With me today are 2 amazing people who I've known for many years. We were just joking about how many years we've known each other, but we don't want to give our ages away. But it's really rewarding to see the kind of dedication and passion they have. So the topic today is youth. And I have to say, when I first moved to Kingston, I heard from Youth Diversion and Kairos that our region is particularly rife with situations where we have a really high ratio of kids at risk. So when I first came, it was a shock to me to learn that we had a higher percentage of youth with substance abuse issues compared to even a place like Toronto as a percentage of the population. What we also have is an amazing group of agencies who come together and really serve these youth. Another shock to us was when we did the analysis of our point-in-time count and learned that we had a higher ratio of children and youth who were homeless compared to the rest of the country. 1 in 3 people who were homeless were youth, and that's a really high number compared to 20% across the country. Since we discovered this, our agencies have worked really hard with youth to turn that around, and we now are at the average. We'd love to be below the average, have fewer youth, but we also recognize that once youth enter the shelter system, they are embraced by agencies like the Kingston Youth Shelter and Youth Diversion, who work closely together. And you'll hear from Denise and Shawn in a minute. We also wanted to focus on prevention because we know the moment that a youth is homeless, there is trauma involved. We want to prevent that as much as possible. So a lot of the programs that have been introduced are all about prevention. How do we get to kids when they are younger to help them not reach the situation where they may not thrive or survive in the future? So again, prevention is the focus. Our youth homelessness plan was actually designed with the voice of youth. So youth told us loud and clear what we needed to do differently and how we needed to change the situation so they could thrive. The number one reason youth are homeless is family conflict, and that's right across the board. It seems so logical, but that's what youth told us. So we, as the United Way, have been able to parachute some funding in to support a family mediation worker who actually has a 98% success rate in preventing youth from ending up in the homeless system, and they're surrounded by supports right away. The second issue that youth told us caused homelessness is addictions and mental health. And again, we're working really hard on the mental health services, but you'll hear from Shawn about how his agency deals with conflict with the law, addictions, and just the many things that lead to youth ending up homeless. And we want to prevent that. We want youth to be surrounded by support the best way we possibly can. So I'm going to turn it over to Denise Lamb, who's with the Kingston Youth Shelter, and she will tell you a little bit about what they do.
Thank you so very much. And it really, truly is an honor and a privilege to be here today. And I am thankful for the invitation. So the Kingston Youth Shelter has 3 programs, well, more than that, 3 sites. So we have the Kingston Youth Shelter, and we have 2 transition homes. We have a family mediator who is fully funded by the United Way. The one transition home is for 16 to 19-year-olds, and that was a generous donation by Mr. Britt Smith of Homestead Landing and funneled through United Way, and they chose us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the other house is 16 to 24, and our youth shelter is 15 beds, and it's 16 to 24. So we've been open 21 years, and there's been huge changes. I often talk about when the United Way adopted us and really flipped the whole, the model, like 180. So we were able to really support our youth, especially with education and mental health with doctors, and we could accompany them. We could support them and advocate for them because they didn't have anyone. The success rate went like through the roof, and I often say that my biggest honor and just brightens up my life, the bright side, I can't talk, is going to those graduations where you know that they've just been, they've worked so hard and they're so proud of their accomplishments. And they were able to do that because they had a safe place to sleep. And as Bhavana was talking about his family conflict, and so sometimes there was lack of food and sleep and trying to make sure they're safe and their siblings are safe. So when they did come to the shelter, and I need to say this too, no kid comes to the shelter because they don't like the rules at home. That's not what we're there for. And there's some that may call, but that's our family mediator has done a fabulous job in sharing the tools that we as parents have not been given us. There's no handbook for parenting. And so that's an incredible piece to our work, and very, very grateful for them and United Way for being able to support that. The kids that have just blossomed because of not only the safety, but the love. And we talk about what we strive for, and that would be safety, fun, and love. And so if we incorporate fun and love in there, then the safety issues really are minimal. But we are there to support people who have mental health issues or no support. We have a lot of orphans, and I'm sure that people are surprised by that, and I was too over the years. It's really surprising. So just to have that sense of belonging, that people really truly care. We couldn't do this without the United Way. We just really couldn't. And your support. Queens has been amazing. I do want to share something that's really huge for us, and that's the Queens volunteers who come in and tutor. So we've had really bright kids who may have some, focus problems. And that especially that young girl I'm talking about was accepted into university. She wanted to go into psych, but she's changed it to law. So she completed her last year, or first year last year. So thank you for all of this, the support that Queens gives us by coming to our homes and tutoring. They've just done, they do fundraising. And I'm sure because of COVID, a lot of those things are not going to happen. So please support the United Way and help take care of all of our kids in the community. With COVID, that was, I always said, I don't think I could top talking about the United Way. When COVID hit, of course, none of us have ever experienced this. There's a lot of fear. United Way called immediately and said, what do the kids need? And they provided us with, we moved from a location downtown that the city owns, so kids could self-isolate. But it was bare bones, and there was nothing there. So the United Way helped us move down to Union Street. The food, like, it triggers people, right? When they see empty cupboards and well, they weren't empty, but they sure looked it. And even me, it bothered me too. But the fridges and the cupboards, we had food just right away. Like first night we came in, pizza was sent, and we could just explore and try to make it an adventure rather than something really scary. So with United Way, we had, they were given iPads and phones to use so they could connect with their families, not be so isolated. Remote learning, so they were able to continue school. Also through like ACFME, you had to have a computer to participate in their job training. So it really opened up a lot of doors because the expectations were like, please stay in. So if they're gamers, it was a dream because they had all of the technology to do that, and it helped us keep everyone safe. So it really truly was a gift. They thrived. The healing began way sooner than I ever imagined. I didn't know all the great things that could come out of this, but only because I didn't have all of the stress of everything else. That was provided by the United Way. We could focus on the kids and support them. And they thrived. I cannot get over the amazing journey that we've been on because of we had that gift of support from United Way and their community, and I talk about this all the time, chocolate milk. So United Way hooked us up with so many other agencies that I didn't even know about. So we've created they have created an amazing community, and it's truly local love. So we got skids of chocolate milk. So we got gamers, we've got food, and we've got chocolate milk. So what better life is that? And they were able to just be and process and no, they really did. We're all crying, kids and everything. Like it was just like, wow, like this is incredible how much love is coming into our home because of the United Way. I can't tell you enough, and I wish that you could experience it, and I wish I could describe it better, but it was an amazingly beautiful thing, and truly honored and grateful. I don't even know. I want bigger words than that. I want somebody to figure out a bigger word. But thank you, thank you, thank you for loving our children, supporting our staff, PPEs, cleaners, cleaning supplies. That was integral to our safety. You know, there was none of that, but United Way got it. We had that right away. But there, nowhere in the city could any normal people go with, you know, regular people go with somewhere and pick up some, toilet paper, hand sanitizer, any of that, you know, that was there. That's what I mean. We didn't have to worry about that stuff. We only needed to worry about the kids, their mental health, their safety, their joy, their happiness, and create a fun adventure. And you created that for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Really appreciate your words, and they're big enough. You convey that. Very much appreciated. Shawn, I'll turn this over to you so you can describe what you do with your agency.
I've got to follow that. Thanks. You know, just real quickly, think about this for a second. You're walking down the grocery aisle and you're looking at chocolate milk and it means absolutely nothing to you. And look at the impact that it has on the kids in our community when you all support them and they see chocolate milk. It's just incredible. You're doing it to me too, actually. So something to think about. Young people do well because they can, or young people do well because they choose to. It's a phrase that I like to use an awful lot because it really puts things into perspective. Everybody always says, well, you have a choice, you have a choice, you have a choice. If we're not giving our kids the skills necessary to overcome challenges, their choices are extraordinarily limited and they're not always good. And so they choose the one that is the least resistance for them. And yet the perception that we have out in the community is that they are making such poor choices. Well, if a young person could do well, why wouldn't they? And so part of what we try to do here at Youth Diversion is we try to take a look at those things that are getting in the way of a young person being able to do well. So we have 7 programs and services that sort of cross the whole continuum of early intervention and prevention to, you know, more intrusive services that are required because young people are going down very dark paths. And we have to do what we can to try to get them back. Specifically, the United Way supports 3 of our programs, our substance use and addiction program called Kairos, our mentoring program, and our rebound program. And I am so proud to be affiliated with an organization like the United Way that has incredible vision, that has drive. They recognize the gaps in services in our community, and they don't just keep talking about them. They bring us together as agencies. I've been in this service, as Bhavana was talking about, for well over 25 years. Our agency's been around for 46 years. And I would say within the last 5 or so years, when we were really working on the youth homelessness strategy, we started to really learn about each other. We started to learn about the Youth Shelter and Girls Inc. and the Boys and Girls Club and all these other agencies and learning to come together because the United Way said, we don't have a lot of money, but we certainly have a lot of ambition and drive, and let's bring everybody together. So let me give you a bit of an example. In my travels across the province, I am not aware of any other community that has an early elementary addiction service. In fact, the vast majority of addiction and mental health services, well, I'll say addiction services, start at 16 and go up. Nobody is looking after kids that are in grade 2 who have parents who are struggling with substance use and addiction issues. Nobody is looking after that grade 8 that's transitioning into grade 9, where we know there's going to be a huge amount of pressure put on that young person. And what skills do they have to help them navigate the trials and tribulations of adolescence? And so they make the choices, which we then turn around as a community and go, well, you chose to do that. Well, if a young person could do well, why wouldn't they? So the United Way not only said to the Youth Diversion, well, you know what, here's some funding for you to have an early elementary addiction counselor. They then said, well, you know what, you need 2. Why? Because there is 1 elementary addiction counselor for 50 some odd schools in our community. So now we have 2 elementary addiction counselors. And in fact, if not for United Way funding, if not for what you folks do here at Queens, raising your $300,000, which by the way, in looking at it through the lens of prevention, that's $3 million. The United Way helped us leverage additional funding. So now we've been able to get secure long-term funding for 2 elementary addiction counselor positions, one through the United Way and one through the provincial government. In fact, Kairos is so unique and very much rooted in Kingston that over 60% of the funding for that program is not coming from the government. It's coming from you folks. It's coming from your donations to the United Way. It's coming from your belief that children and youth need the advantages to help them overcome these difficulties in life. The mentoring program is really near and dear to my heart. Right now, there is a ton of research going on around adverse childhood experiences, or better known as ACEs. And in the absence of any intervention in a young person's life early, as they start to accumulate early childhood trauma, the impact that that has on young people as they become adults is, the data is just staggering. You know, for young people that have an ACEs score of 4 or higher, and the highest score you can have is 10, so you're not even halfway there, cancers increase by 190%. STIs increase by 250%. Alcoholism increases by 740%. Illicit substance use, 470%. People who are injecting substances, 1,000%. Suicide, 1,200%. If we are not dealing with ACEs early. And the United Way recognizes this. And we know that one of the single greatest antidotes for mitigating the impact of ACEs is one positive adult role model in a young person's life. So our mentoring program is designed to connect with at-risk youth and provide them with that adult positive role model. 50% of the time, the difference between a successful young person and an unsuccessful young person is that one positive adult role model. And I always like to challenge people who are listening to me to think back to a time in your life where somebody did something or said something to you that changed the course of your life forever. And they have no idea who you are. They probably don't remember anything about it, but you can remember the sight, the smell, what you were wearing, the time of day, the time of season, because it had that level of impact. And that's mentoring. And the other program that the United Way supports for us is our rebound program. So again, another one of those early prevention programs that matches young people with adult role models in the community. And for one night a week, for a couple of hours, they start to focus on things like how to communicate more effectively with each other, how to make better decisions, how to set and achieve short-term goals, how to work on their conflict resolution skills, parenting skills, or how to communicate and work with their parents. So they don't have to find themselves, unfortunately, in Denise's system. And so for these 10 weeks, we give them this opportunity to learn and grow and to give them the chances that they need to help overcoming the challenges in the community. And so we do all of this work, you know, providing young people with substance use and addiction counselor, providing them with mentors, providing them with cognitive skills, and a whole plethora of other supports and services for $2.45 a day. $2.40. All of you are eating lunch right now. What did it cost you? How many kids could you have supported today? Now, mind you, you have to eat. I get that. But just look at the cost of your lunch as you're staring down at it. That's 3, 4, maybe 5 kids today that now have an addiction counselor, that now have school supports, that now have outreach supports. Or, you know, we can invest $200 a day and put a kid in jail. And that's the flip side. And that's where we know the value of prevention, that it's sometimes 10, 12, 14, 20 times greater than any type of consequence punishment funding, whether that's putting a young person in custody or putting a young person in care. If we reach them early, we can support them. So does a young person do well because they can or because they choose to? In my view, they do well because they can. And it's up to us to provide them with everything that they need to be able to be successful. And you guys do that on a daily basis when you donate to the United Way. Please understand that those funds, the United Way, they're amazing stewards of these funds. And they hold all of our agencies highly accountable for what we are doing with your dollars and making sure they are getting to where they need to be. And we are accountable to the United Way as the United Way is accountable to all of you. So I know Denise has said it. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for the United Way. I'm thankful to be here, and welcome any questions that you might have.
Thank you both. This is just a small glimpse of the incredible work you do every day. There is one question about whether there's counseling services, so I have sent them to the Directory of Services that we collectively put together. And Resolve Counseling certainly offers counseling, but I believe both your agencies offer counseling too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we have, again, you know what? So a couple of years ago, a program came to our community that nobody wanted to fund, even though it was needed in our community. And the United Way said, we'll fund that. And it's our Intersections program. And it's designed to reach young people who are not engaging in criminal activity, but because of their behavior, whether it's a parent-teen conflict or running away from home or substance use, they reach out to 911. And we know that the moment that the police become involved, a young person is stuck in the justice system. Intersections also supports young people who don't meet that threshold of a child in need of protection today, but in the absence of intervention, they will meet that threshold tomorrow. So United Way saw the value in Intersections and funded it for 2 years and helped us leverage a 3-year grant from the Trillium Foundation. And we've been able to upscale that, and that program now includes a registered social worker that can provide support for families while they're waiting for the larger systems to kick in. And just recently, the city police jumped on board and created an online reporting tool for Intersections. And in the month of September alone, we've had more referrals for that program since COVID started in March. We're almost up to 30 referrals, which incidentally is almost half the amount of referrals that we received for the entire last year in the month of September, which tells us that COVID is having a huge impact on our children, youth, and families as they remain isolated in their homes.
Yeah. And Denise, all your counselors are trained workers too, right?
Absolutely. And that's the core of our programs. Life skills training, so they learn how to do their laundry. And actually it's funny because when we used to be able to have students for placement, our kids were teaching the students how to do laundry because they never had done it before. Cooking skills, it's just incredible what they've come up with. And because of the United Way, we have an amazing supporter in the Loving Spoonful. And so that's fresh produce. Recently, beef that was donated through the United Way. So all of our agencies, that's gold. You don't get that. So learning all of those, budgeting, sewing instead of throwing, right? So I got guys knitting scarves for their Christmas gifts, and everybody learns the same thing. So, how to balance your books, right? When is recycling and when is garbage and what is recycling, all of the stuff that they need to know to live successfully independently. So they have those tools. That makes room for all of those other amazing milestones that they've mastered that. So like everything is possible. And how many, and I really want to say this also, sorry, I forgot, one of the biggest celebrations that we had was all of our kids at Elmwood, that's the 16 to 19-year-old, 6 kids, all graduated last year with honors. All of them. And, at the beginning, like September, November, January, some were just, and they just didn't believe in themselves. And we say this all of the time, I believe in you until you believe in yourself. And so to watch that, when they see that they can do it, like Shawn was saying, is magical. So they applied to colleges. Unfortunately, they can't, actually go in, except one is labs at St. Lawrence. So they get to go. But it really, truly is. And its counseling is 24/7. That's what we do. And you know what? They don't even know it. So, right. So that's the other tool that we have, is that they don't even know that. But the successes, and really they owned it. So, and they were able to own that because of all of you.
Thank you, Denise. I'll turn it back to Mary Beth. Thank you both, Shawn and Denise, really very much.
Yes, thank you so much. It's so inspiring to hear your passion and the care that you have for the youth in our community. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the work you do. And thank you to United Way and all of our generous donors for helping support this work. It's really, really vital. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We have recorded this and we will be sharing this on the Queen's Gazette in the next day or two. Please, 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 if you found this inspiring, just like I did, share it with your colleagues and friends so we can help everyone understand just how much United Way matters and is important to our community. Thank you as well, Bhavana, for moderating today. Hope you see us next week and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.